Don't make these common mistakes in your general athletic development training. Hey, what's up? This is Keith here with Culture Athletics, and today I want to discuss the most common mistakes when implementing athletic development into a health and general fitness program. Sports performance and athletic development for the general population are on the rise and have been slowly growing in the general fitness space for a couple of years now. I want to help keep things on track with how to approach implementing more athleticism into your training. As you may know, if you're already following me, I believe general fitness should incorporate all facets of athleticism as a means to be as healthy and functional as possible, and that I define athleticism through the pragmatic concept of just being human rather than being a competitive athlete playing a sport. By the way, if you don't already know this, check out some of my past videos where I explain athleticism, and feel free to hit the subscribe button to receive regular updates on this topic. You can also follow me on Instagram at callmekeith and at _cultureathletics_ for some brief insights. Those will be in the description below. Anyways, over the years of watching the fitness industry market more about athleticism, I'm sure you've witnessed some of the good along with the really bad advice. And some of this has been quite horrendous. Now, I'm not here to shit talk or break anybody down, but I at least want to set it straight that developing athleticism for the general fitness population does not need to look like a sports performance athlete. That's sports performance, not athletic development. The goal of sports performance is to improve the skills and performance of a sport, which requires specific demands associated with the sport. Yes, we all know sports performance training must fall back into the basic general principles of fitness, which involves broad athletic skill set, but there's much more nuance to be considered in that context. However, for the general fitness population, probably you, definitely me, and for sure the majority of people training out there, athletic development can remain more broad and less specific to any particular function. We only need to develop the main biomotor abilities of our physiology. It's as simple as that. Okay, so let's get to it. What mistakes are commonly made when training for athleticism in the general population? Number 1, choosing fancy movements. This is a popular go-to for most consumers in the fitness industry. If it looks cool and challenging, it must equal higher levels of athleticism. Wrong. This is an illusion. The reason we train in the gym is to target specific outcomes within our physiology. We are sophisticated enough to understand how to hone in on our particular systems and mechanisms to enhance their outputs, improving our overall athleticism. We don't need to put on a show by filling in our training with fancy, overcomplicated movements that try to cover too many variables at once. Ever see the guy who does some weird rotational lunge jump, landmine press to Bosu ball balance? Or just the guy who squats on a stability ball? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now, some of these crazy movements do incorporate variables that can and should still be trained, but not in combination with other priorities at the same time, and certainly not at an increased risk. One of the main points of training is to reduce the risk of injury. So if your training is directly increasing that, then that's exhibit A for what not to do. Instead, integrate the principles of training the biomotor abilities of strength, power, speed, mobility, and endurance, with the fundamental movement skills of agility, balance, and coordination. The fundamental movement patterns, squat, lunge, hinge, push, pull, and rotate, while moving through each and every movement plane: sagittal, forward and back; frontal, side to side; and transverse, rotational. Alright, number 2, making everything aerobic. I've seen this a million times. Incorporating more athletic movements into aerobic capacity workouts. Now, there's a time and a place where this makes sense, but this isn't athletic development per se. This is conditioning. Changing your aerobic sessions from doing simple movements like running, jumping rope, sled pushes, med ball slams, lunges, and push-ups, to sled sprints, multi-directional pogo jumps, agility ladders, and lateral shuffle med ball throws is hardly working on anything different than you are already doing. You're still prioritizing conditioning or endurance. Like I said before, it still makes sense in the context of adding in more movement variety and getting into different planes of motion. But aerobic environments aren't a place to develop the biomotor abilities of force production, power, and speed. You want to limit aerobic fatigue in these instances. Instead, isolate your aerobic conditioning and energy systems development from your strength, power, and speed work, while adding in movement variety to skill development before improving them with strength, power, and speed. Keep your conditioning specific to the time or work capacity demands of your sport, function, or just general health targets. I can tell you just as well as anyone else that the mixed modality metabolic conditioning workouts of CrossFit produce insane work capacities. But this isn't where you efficiently develop skills, max strength, power, or speed. There's a reason why energy systems development should be separate from the other biomotor abilities. Conditioning isn't where you develop your athleticism, it's where you support it. And lastly, number 3, training like an athlete. Now, I'm not opposed to what I think this message is meant to convey, but with such a vague yet popular phrase, this often gets interpreted into training like a professional athlete. Yes, most of these athletes jump, sprint, throw, and perform explosive movements and agility drills, which are great areas to develop general athleticism. But it's not the specific movements they perform that we should be doing or to what degree they perform them. What matters most is the application of principles behind these biomotor abilities. Instead of implementing the specific training plan that a football player, soccer player, track athlete, or Olympic lifter does, you should rather collect the principles behind those plans and apply them generally to your personal condition. What I mean is that if you train like these elite athletes or implement a sports performance training program designed for competitive sports with the intention of developing general athleticism for life, you're likely going to increase your risk of injury and illness, overcomplicate your training, overwhelm your schedule, and most likely get very frustrated with the progress. Or at the very best, just miss the mark with your true goals. Instead, make sure you're getting a broad and exclusive exposure to the main biomotor abilities. Don't think of the outcome of a sports performance athlete. Think of the outcomes of training to improve force production, rate of force production, power, speed, mobility, endurance, capacity, and agility, and the proprioceptive abilities like coordination, rhythm, timing, and balance. If you cover these main areas of fitness, you'll be as athletic as you need to be for life. Treat that as a central hub for your program, or nucleus if you will, that can transfer out to specific areas which you may want your physical development to be capable of, such as recreational sports, outdoor sports, your job, or just playing with your kids. Okay, so even though we covered these 3 mistakes that are commonly made when incorporating athletic development into the general fitness space, there are plenty more out there. If you are interested in learning more about this or want to appropriately train for athletic development for health, function, longevity, or performance, make sure to check out my webpage, articles, and social media posts. I have free programs on my website that give you an idea of how to approach this appropriately. All the links are below in the description. Or, if you'd like personal guidance in the process, I work with people in one-on-one remote coaching environments as well. Head over to my webpage for more information, or just send me a message to learn more. Alright, that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed this video and gained some good information on how to develop athleticism for day-to-day life.